Welcome back to the Tikit demo series. In this section of the demo series, we're going to be focusing in on Tikit's ability to wrap around multi-teams and multi-departments within your organization. So Tikit has the ability to turn any department into its own individual service desk. And those departments can be IT or facilities, HR, finance, legal. And what this allows for those respective departments to do is to receive requests from the business, be able to track tickets that are specifically assigned to those respective teams, and those teams can work in partitioned service desks, updating those tickets, responding to those tickets, all the way through to resolution. Now, there's typically two sides of this conversation. There is the end user experience, so how end users submit tickets to the different departments you have set up with Tikit. Now, there's a whole video around how the end user experience works. So I would recommend watching that video to get that experience. But the second side, which is what we're going to focus in on today, is the agent experience. So how agents receive requests from the business, how they respond to those requests, and how they work across the different teams and web experiences. And just for some context on the screen, there's two personas I want to highlight. So there's Adele here. She's my end user. She's going to be submitting tickets and requests to the different departments. And then there's Diego here, who's my agent, and he's going to be receiving those requests from the different teams and different departments. I'm actually going to start off by describing some things that you're seeing on Diego's side of the screen that set the framework for how this works within Tikit, and then we'll actually work through some workflows on how Diego can travel around and manage the different tickets across teams and web. So what you're seeing here is the ability for Diego to work on tickets assigned to IT inside of Microsoft Teams. He can also work on tickets assigned to the facilities team, the telecom team, the HR team, the finance team. And what's happening here is that we have the ability to deploy Tikit to any team inside of Microsoft Teams, and we can turn that team into its own service desk. We then leverage the teams and channels to assign tickets to those teams and associated support groups, which we associate to channels. We get a couple of gains architecturally from doing this. The first is we get a security gain. And what I mean by that is, let's just say that I'm in HR, but Diego's in IT. Within Microsoft Teams, if I log into Microsoft Teams, I won't even see the IT team or any tickets assigned to the service desk group as an example, or the desktop group, because I don't have access to that team. That's just a security layer that Microsoft has in Teams. But if I travel over to the Tikit agent portal, what you're going to see here is that we have this elevated concept of team assignment. And if I log in here, I'm only going to see tickets assigned to the HR team. Where if Diego were to log in here, he would only see tickets assigned to the IT team. And what's happening around that is we're only showing the tickets where you're a member of the associated team. Now, that allows for each team to be able to work in its own individual service desk, but that doesn't mean we don't allow for cross-collaboration. And there's lots of ways that we support cross-collaboration where different teams like IT, HR, facilities can all work in concert to do things. But one of the easiest ways to kind of visualize cross-collaboration is with the new hire process. So let me pull that up here so we can take a look at that. So this is a new hire process that's assigned to HR. There's a few phases here. There's an approval phase, an account provisioning phase, and a hardware provisioning phase. We're currently sitting in the approval phase, so Diego here needs to approve this to move this forward. But what I want to highlight here is the account provisioning phase. So this ticket is assigned to HR, but you'll see here that there is a bunch of delegated tasks to provision user accounts for this new hire. And specifically, Alex here is assigned to a few of them. Now, Alex is not a member of HR, but because he has some sort of responsibility on this ticket, we're letting him pierce through that HR security wall and get visibility to this one ticket. So when this new hire process goes from approval to account provisioning, Alex will be made aware that he needs to do a couple of tasks here, and he can get the full context of the ticket, including the form that was submitted to initiate this new hire process. So in summary, each team can have its own service desk. However, if you want to cross-collaborate, you absolutely can. Now, what I want to do here is I want to submit a few tickets from a Dell side. So you can see how tickets would come from the end user to the different teams. And then we'll talk about a little bit more about how that would travel inside of Teams as well as inside of some workflows. And then we'll drop into the web experience to explore just a couple more items around those experiences as well. So as I mentioned, there's a video deep diving into the end user experience, but I'm just going to go through and submit a few tickets here so you can see how those travel from Tikit Virtual Agent and Teams over to the service desk we have assigned to these different teams here. So let's say that I want to create an IT ticket. I can easily select new ticket here. And I'll just say my computer is running slow. Now this example is going to send a ticket to the IT team and drop it over, assign it to the service desk group. I mentioned this earlier, but you can have different groups within a team, and those groups are assigned to channels. So we'll see that ticket dropped into the service desk channel because it's assigned to the service desk group. Complementary to that, maybe I want to submit a software request. This is still an IT request, but we need the end user to fill out a form to facilitate this process. And when I submit this out, what you'll see here is that this is going to be assigned to IT. This one's going to be sent over to the desktop group because in my business, all software requests are managed by the desktop group. So we'll see that dropped in here in just a moment. We're also going to see an approval come through on a Dell side. This Tikit Virtual Agent is an experience to submit requests, but also be able to receive updates for requests. And what you're seeing here is that this software request needs an approval to be actioned to be able to move her request forward. And we're just making Adele aware of that. All right, go back to the help menu. Let's say I want to initiate an office move. That's in the facilities part of my help menu. And this is going to be a different form than a software request here. Now these forms can be anything you want them to be. These are just examples here, and you create and configure those. But when I submit this request, this will be sent over to the facilities team, and then the facilities team will be notified, be made aware, and they can go work on those tickets. And then last example here, just so I have some tickets to work on the right-hand side, is this new hire process. I kind of talked about this one in detail, but we'll just submit one from the beginning so you can see how that works in Teams. So, now this particular request, when sent over, will be sent over to the HR team, because in my business, HR manages all the new hire processes. However, we have IT and facilities and HR, they're all working in concert to onboard this particular employee. Now, we've submitted quite a few tickets from the end user perspective. The other thing I usually like to highlight here is that the end user has a single experience. They have needs that need to be fulfilled by these different support organizations, and they're doing that inside a Tikit Virtual Agent, that single experience. And all the updates they're going to get from these tickets and these different teams are going to come to that single experience. And it's just a really nice, simple experience for all of your end users inside of your business. Now let's flip over to Diego's side, and I'm just going to touch on how these tickets look inside of Microsoft Teams. And then I'm going to revisit the agent portal, the web experience, to show you how you could work on them inside of the agent portal as well. So we've created a few tickets. There was a break fix ticket, 3902. This ticket was assigned to the IT team and the service desk group. We dropped that group into the associated channel, and I can work on it here if I want to. We also initiated a software request. that software request sitting on top of what's called a workflow or a lifecycle. We have full videos around how life cycles work, so I would recommend watching some of those to kind of deep dive on how different business processes apply around life cycles. But specifically, my software request has two phases: an approval phase. We saw the approval being Adele was made aware that an approval needed to occur to initiate a software request or to move it forward. But we have a software request in this, approval phase in the software request, and a go deploy software phase if that gets approved. We also initiated a facilities move add change, which is right here. Again, this was sent over to facilities. Facilities is made aware, and they can work on it here if they want. And then we have the HR one as well. So here's HR. And this one is sitting also on top of a life cycle. The facility one isn't, it's just for facilities. This one is sitting on top of a life cycle, and it has different departments working together to bring things forward. So each of these teams are going to see and have visibility into their own tickets, and the other teams will not see them at all. But if I go over to the ticket agent portal, a little bit of a different experience, but I want to highlight a few things. So as I mentioned, let me refresh, make sure all my tickets can get all of them right here. We've assigned tickets to different teams. So if I was in HR, I would log in and I would only see ticket 3905 that was just created. I wouldn't see ticket 3904, which is assigned to facilities, or these two others that are assigned to IT. Now, we highlighted the new hire process. Let me just show you the office move. This is assigned to facilities. There's no life cycle, so I don't have a bunch of phases to facilitate this office move. I'm just receiving the information and moving it. But again, I don't have to. I don't have to cross collaborate here. this is a request coming to facilities. We also have that software request, and that software request does have a few phases here. They're all IT related though still. So no other departments will see this. This approval once happens, task goes over to Diego to go deploy software. He's the person responsible for deploying software in my business, and he'll be notified once that approval happens. This is all siloed in IT, no cross-departmental stuff happening here. The last thing I want to show here though is what happens if I do want to do some cross-collaboration. There's a couple of things that I want to highlight that are different than the new hire process. So the first is I can add a comment to a ticket. So let's just say that I want to send a message to Adele. We are working on this. That will send her an update in Teams as well as email. She'll get that. She can respond if she wants. But I can also message other agents. And in my environment, I have multiple teams that have agents that are spread across those teams. So if I were to @message Alex as an example, or @message Grady, they can be in different teams, but I'm @messaging them, asking them for help or having them look at this to provide some advice. And I could send this, Adele would see that though, it's a public message, or I can add an internal note, which would make it private. So Alex and Grady would get a message in the ticket app and team letting them know that I'm asking for help, but Adele wouldn't see this. So that's one way to cross-collaborate, which is messaging different agents and being able to ask them for help. Another way that you can cross-collaborate is this concept of multiple collaborators. So you'll see here that this ticket's assigned to the IT team and the service desk group. I could assign this to myself, Diego. I'm logged in as Diego here. I can also collaborate with any agent within my team or outside of my team. So if I wanted to include Grady here, who's not in IT, I could. And again, by making them responsible for something part of this ticket, we're going to let Grady pierce through that IT security wall and get visibility to this ticket. So that's one way to cross-collaborate. The other way is not so much cross-collaboration, but reassignment. So let's say that this came in and it shouldn't have belonged to IT for some reason. It should have belonged to facilities, as an example. I can at any point reassign this ticket. I can do this in Teams as well. But if I were here in the web, let's say this belongs to the facilities team. I want to send this over to Alex here on the facilities team. I could do that. Now, the key here, though, is that I'm in IT. And if I'm also not a member of the facilities team, the moment I click Save, reassign this ticket to facilities, and leave this ticket, it will be removed from my visibility because I'm not a member of facilities, and only the facilities team at that point will be able to see that ticket. So again, not cross collaboration, but sometimes you're going to need to reassign tickets between different teams and groups, and you have the ability to do that with our system. So just in summary, Tikit has the ability to turn any any department into its own service desk. As I mentioned earlier, it could be any department: IT, facilities, HR, finance. And each one of those departments can receive requests from the business, be able to manage those requests within the privacy of their own service desk. But if you wanted to, you could also cross-collaborate. This is where we're going to end today's demo. I really hope you enjoyed it. And if you do have any questions, please email team@tikit.ai.